Your Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every...
The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Let's talk about it, okay? Arturs Silovs, 2-year deal with the Vancouver Canucks. Patrick Allvin and your Vancouver Canucks continue to do work, continue to save a little bit of money because all the little things matter. We keep saying it on this program, right? Locked On Canucks. The little things matter, man. Me and Beggsy, we've lived 31 years of our life. And we know, again, that the little things matter. Anyways, this is Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen. This is the program that gives you your Canucks every day, sometimes your Canucks every hour, even in July. How are we able to do this? Hey, the Don't Those Art Lab, man, for real. They just care about the West Coast and that West Coast bias and their neighbors. And yeah, we're able to do this. And that's talk about Arturs Silovs doing his thing and getting paid, sort of, right? A 2-year deal, a one-way deal, $850K per season. Pretty much minimum wage in the NHL. And that's after he did what he did for Latvia. And that's after he, quote unquote, did what he did for your Vancouver Canucks this playoff run. Right? And I said, quote unquote, because it's not really that much of a run. Okay. Round 2, game 7. It's not that spectacular. It's not the standard. But man, oh man. Speaking of spectacular, Arturs Silovs was just that. He was extraordinary. He was realistically unbelievable for the most part, considering he was our third-string goaltender who was struggling in Abbotsford. And look what he did. Got us to that point. Never looked nervous. Just did him. Was cold-blooded. And let's stick with that for a bit. You really got to lean into that. You got to look at those things if you're a sports fan. Look at his circumstance and look at how he handled it with so much ease. And I'll use the word for the third time. He was spectacular at points. He was making saves that turned casuals into real hockey fans, okay? He made it really, really exciting to watch your Vancouver Canucks in April and May. And looking back at it, which kind of hurts to do, that seemed to be the impossible. But there he was, making it look so possible and so easy. Now, yeah, you can talk about the point shots. You can talk about what happened in Game 6 and Game 7 against the Oilers. You can talk about some of the types of goals that were going in, right? He's not the perfect player there, but the potential of him replacing Demko after a couple seasons is there. And that's sort of important considering that both their contracts end at the same time and in 26, 27, right? That season, a couple years down the road. I know I'm doing that, but man, oh man, in that season, you're going to be paying OEL a lot for doing nothing. And money's going to matter. And the success of Arturs Silovs in the next 2 seasons really, really matters. Now, before we touch on the team aspect of this, give me a couple more minutes with the individual aspect of this. And man, oh man, talk about Ian Clark, talk about Arturs Silovs, talk about them having a even closer relationship for a full season. What's that going to do to this guy's game? Because a part of me does believe the ceiling, it's going to get broken. Look at what he did for Latvia. Look at what he did for us. This guy just may be on another planet. He must be really, really good to be able to do those 2 things at his age, considering the 2 individual circumstances. There's just something there. There's a chance of it. Now, if Arturs Silovs doesn't give you, I don't want to say Demko-like performance, but if he doesn't, blow you out of the water as a 30-game-a-year backup, then yeah, slap me across the face. I just wasted your time. But there's a chance for him to be the Ullmark to the Swayman or the Swayman to the Ullmark. There's a chance for this guy to be a real number one type caliber goaltender and show that on a good, structured defensive team where, again, the pressure sort of kind of off him, right? Because he's still playing behind Demko. There's just a path for this guy to find himself, improve, be spectacular more consistently, and put himself really on the map. Now, man, oh man, man, oh man. Speaking of which, you could argue that he's already on the map, right? And I think there's some people in the hockey world, based on what I'm seeing on X and some other feedback, that the Canucks just got to steal. They just got to steal. And why didn't any team offer sheet a guy like this? Didn't they see what he did in the playoffs? All right, you're taking that small sample size, and some hockey fans are just looking at this guy like he's the next guy, one of them, the next Vezina type candidate down the road. Why didn't anyone do that? And how did the Canucks get him for only $850K per year? And not something like, 1.5, 1.25, 1.75 per year. How come it's $850K? How come it's like minimum wage? Okay. It's pretty obvious. This is what happens when you have two things. Okay. Arturs Silovs seems like a humble guy, seems like a team first type of guy. Okay. Seems like he had a lot of fun being around those guys. Quinn Hughes, JT Miller, and the boys over the last couple of months, okay? Fell in love with the guys, fell in love with the mission, fell in love with the coaching staff. Yo, maybe we're not that far. Let's go win a cup. Let's save some money, okay? This guy seems to be very team first. Speaking of team first, Alvin, Rutherford. Bro, they the definition of team first. And they get it done more often than not in negotiations, right? Straight up. There's very much a world where this contract is $950K per year. There's very much a world where this is $1 million per year. Again, look at what he did in the playoffs. And Alvin knows, man, saving money right now makes winning more possible. Tough negotiator. Got it done. And Arturs Silovs is a backup for Thatcher Demko for 2 years and is getting paid barely minimum wage. Okay, let's talk about Demko. Okay, 2 years left on his deal. I think next year, it's quite obvious. Like it may just be one of the biggest years of Demko's career. Right? Look at all he's gone through. Look at the team that he's behind. Look at the talent. Second in Vezina voting, if I'm correct. Just an extraordinary type of season from this guy as well. Okay, even though we've all kind of warmed up to him being one of the best, it was quite evident this season that he was that guy, the best goalie in hockey. Pretty much up until he got hurt. Guy got the sauce. Even if you look back at what he did against the Winnipeg Jets on the game that he got hurt, he was looking good. He was looking strong. He was rounding into form. He's that guy. And next season, I feel as if there's motivation to help this team get over the hump. Maybe he feels somewhat accountable, not because it's his fault, but just, he's a bro. Maybe he feels like he let the team down in some sense. He's going to go out there and go swinging, okay? And he's going to also swing for some of the doubters, right? Some of the people that are calling him injury prone and all this jazz. He's going to win the Vezina next year. I'm calling it right now. And it's going to be a lot more easy to win the Vezina if he's playing less games, if he's more fresh. And Silovs and Ian Clark, if they can actually do this right away in September and October, you're looking at 32 starts for Arturs Silovs. This type of investment, they want to see what they have in this guy, okay? They're going to test this guy, and they also know that they don't want to overdo it with Demko. Let's see a 30-50 split between these guys, and let's see Demko go like what, 38, 7, and 5. Hey, he's playing for a lot too, right? The Olympics. I think this guy was 4 years old the last time the best on best tournament happened, okay? America has a really, really good team coming up, okay? For real. Him wanting to be that guy over Hallebuck, it seems like mission impossible, but a guy like that, he's going to want to make it possible. Being the starter of that Team USA team in the Olympics down the road in a couple years, that's a big deal for these hockey nerds. Thatcher Demko being one of those guys. Big things coming, and Arturs Silovs makes it a lot easier for him. Now, I mentioned off the top, both these guys, they have their contracts end at the exact same time. Let's say Demko does go on a run for the next 2 years, continues to do what he did, carries over what he did last year into the future. This guy's going to become a UFA at the age of what, 30? If I'm correct, you best believe. This guy is going to want to get paid, considering that you want to talk about minimum wage? This guy's getting underpaid. Jim Benning's best work, JT Miller and Thatcher Demko. Yo, I'm telling you, down the road, it's going to happen, man. When the Canucks win the cup with this core, a lot of us, and I'm one of the worst betting haters, okay, for real. A lot of us are going to be eating our words and demanding that that guy get a ring. Anyways, Demko, vastly underpaid. If he does his best over the next 2 years on a good team with all this motivation around him, and he fulfills what he goes out and sets to do, he's going to be looking for a huge deal. And say what you want about goaltending and how, you can win with anyone, and if you get a hot goalie, blah, 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 like things can happen, right? Look at who's won the Stanley Cup recently, blah, blah. Dude, I get that, but at the same time, you have to give credit where credit is due. And talent and athleticism and functionality and when he's on the ice and poise, Demko has all of that. Demko is that guy. And if we want what's best for the Vancouver Canucks, we have to believe that. We have to believe that this guy's the best goalie in the league and that this team that's just getting started could possibly win the Stanley Cup, because Demko, when hot, is almost impossible to beat. And imagine him being impossible to beat for 30 days, and those 30 days not happening in the regular season, but they happen in the playoffs. And then you sprinkle in Quinn Hughes, and you sprinkle in JT Miller, and you sprinkle in all the other things, right? Elias Pettersson, all that jazz. There really is a recipe for, again, the Canucks to do something that they've never done before. And Demko is a huge part of that. A hot Thatcher Demko is a weapon. It's a weapon. And it's a beautiful thing for your Vancouver Canucks. The dude's going to get paid in a couple years. And I don't think he's going to get paid in Vancouver. Look, I want what's best for this team, this core, my moment, Deepak Chopra. I listen to him every day. Okay? And if that's the case, then Silovs, right? He's going to give a lot of time for Demko to rest. And Silovs is going to be a really good goaltender over the next 2 years on this really cheap deal. And both these contracts end at the same time. The Canucks know. With that OEL buyout hurting them like crazy. And just the fact that they have a guy like Silovs there. Man, oh man. You can see the writing on the wall. Demko, man. The last 2 years of Thatcher Demko. I see it. I see it being a thing for the Vancouver Canucks. I know that's dark. And normally Trevor Beggs is the darker guy in the program, but my mind is going there. And the last note I'll make on this is, if Silovs has a really good season this year, and Demko has a really good season, and Besser has a really good season, I think we're going to get a confirmation on everything I was just saying over the last 2 minutes, right? The team's going to not only choose Silovs over Demko, but it's going to say a lot about their thought process when they sign Besser and not extend Thatcher Demko, right? They use that Demko money on Besser. Like, I'm going there, okay? It's July. It's hot. And my mind is going there, okay? Now let's get to the comments before we get out of here, okay? Look at this one from Hangya, okay? I think I'm saying that right, okay? The Canucks fans love Silovs already. He's a huge part of the team, even with Demmer and net. It's the truth, right? The relationship he does have with the fans, there's something romantic there. And it's not just because he was helping us, quote unquote, get results, right? In the playoffs. And I keep doing the whole quote thing because, again, it wasn't that deep of a run. I'm not going there yet. But yeah, he was just not the goalie in net when we got those dubs. He was so much fun to watch. Like, he's the reason why you watch the games, right? Some of the things that he was doing. And we got a small sample size in the biggest of moments. And we talk about the standing up to the pressure to when we talk about Zadorov, right? Him raising his level. Being someone that we thought he couldn't be, being somewhat superhero-like, and now we don't have him. Yo, we have Silovs for a couple more years, and he was that guy in another world or on another end of the spectrum. What he was doing was telling the whole hockey world that this guy has ice in his veins, and when the games really matter, they really matter to him. And since that's the case, yo, he really matters to the fan base, okay? For real. Silovs, man, doing his thing, man. Now look at this comment, okay? I dig weed 420. What? Locked on Canucks. You two are the best, man. Begsy in a meeting, working hard, doing his thing. He's also asking this commenter, again, I actually don't know if it's a he or she, or yet, you know. This guy's saying, what brand are these sunglasses, okay? They're from Kits. No free ads, but we look after our neighbors, though. We look after our neighbors, man. Kits, man, doing their thing. How about hanging again? Okay, Demko might be the third or second in goal for Team USA in the Four Nation Cup, and the Olympics. Yeah, I know. And that is, at this point, the truth, right? Hellebuyck is just too good, right? And Ottinger and whatnot. Okay, there's competition there, and Hellebuyck is that guy. He's that guy. And Demko knows that. And I don't know if Demko's really looking at the Four Nations Cup as though, you know, the one he needs to play in, right? Or be the starter in. I think he's looking at the Olympics. And if he goes on a run on a good team, which he has in front of him, a better team than the Winnipeg Jets have, there's a timeline here for him to, you know, put himself on an island alone when it comes to that decision, right? Who's going to be the starter of Team USA, quite possibly the best Team USA team ever. It's a big deal to these guys. And Demko's going to be instinctively motivated to prove a point, which is a good thing for your Vancouver Canucks. And he's going to be rested more than ever, because Arturs Silovs is the backup, and he just signed a 2-year deal worth $850,000 per. Patrick Allvin doing work. Arturs Silovs looking after his neighbors, saving the team a little bit of dough, at least $100K, to make sure that things are easier for us down the road. Speaking of down the road, we've reached the end of the road on this impromptu episode of Locked On Canucks. All this rambling, all this ranting, all this saying of whatever and whatever and whatever about Arturs Silovs, Thatcher Demko, the timeline. It's got me itching for everything Canucks. Everything Canucks. Cannot wait until September, October, April, May, and June. Anyways, my name is Kyle Bowen, KYLEBHAWAN. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're here whenever, whatever, however. Did I say that right? I think so. One left of the Locked On Podcast Network for doing its thing, and the Don't Doze Art Lab for giving us the place to give you this. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night. If you're not watching this live, then we don't know when you're tuning in, but I'm telling you, we appreciate it. Peace.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast